Everyone do watch your step. Here. First set of release. Gently roll it across, goes and back, keep pushing down. That's it. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for coming today. In Jewish funerals, there is a tradition for the immediate family to care their clothing in grief. The ceremony is called keria. Since we are not Orthodox, we're not going to tear our clothing. We are going to tear a ribbon, which represents tearing our clothing. It actually harkens back to when Jacob received word that Joseph of the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat had been killed by wild animals, and he tore his clothing in grief. And this keria ceremony is the time that we transition from focusing on preparing the dead for burial and focusing on the family and the living. So we will and the prayer that we say is Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Doyenne ha'emet. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, the true judge. So we rip from the end and then pin it to the left side, closest to our hearts. And the tradition is to wear this for at least the first 7 days, the Shiva period. You can wear it for the full 30 days of extended mourning period, or even a whole year. It's an opportunity for us to recognize, to be gentle with ourselves, and for others who see us with this ribbon to be gentle with us. Sheldon Arnold Rubin was the definition of a mensch. He died at age 93 on August 29th, 2023. As he joked so often, when the time came, he said, just carry me back to old Virginia. And so we have. Here we are. His burial plot is located alongside his parents, Benjamin and Dorothy Rubin, who are right there, and his sister Muriel and her husband Arthur Cohen are right over there. So welcome to our celebration of a wonderful man's life. Most of you know me. I'm Gail Rubin, Shelley's daughter, and a certified funeral celebrant. This is my toughest assignment to date, but we'll get through it. Shelley was the devoted husband of Ruth for 69 wonderful, amazing years of marriage. And Ruth is in Florida. Hi, Mom. At Symphony at Del Rey, where she and Dad have been living for 2.5 years. And my brother Lee is with her, as well as Maria and Doyenne, and I think baby Max is there too. So, and she has a very supportive community about her at Symphony at Del Rey. Shelley is the loving father of Mitch Rubin and his spouse Spencer Nishiyama, myself, and my recently deceased husband David Fleischer, Lee Rubin and his ex-wife Maria Rubin, and Glenn Rubin and his spouse Pat Andrews. Pat's not here today. Shelley was the proud grandfather of Doyenne Rubin Anderson. He's married to Jeffrey Anderson, and they have their son is the great grandson for Dad, their son Max. and he leaves many mourning relatives and bereft friends. A proud native of Philadelphia, Shelley loved that city's famous soft pretzels. He also liked kosher hot dogs, McRibs, soups, especially minestrone, and Ruth's great cooking. He didn't like chicken or fish, most definitely a meat and potatoes kind of guy. After moving to Washington, D.C. as a teenager, he graduated from McKinley Technical High School in Northeast Washington, and he graduated from the University of Maryland in College Park in 1952 with a degree in business. And he was a longtime Redskins fan and a season ticket holder, and he really didn't like the new name of the Commanders. He served in the U.S. Naval Reserves from 1948 to 1962. And one of our family's favorite photos of him shows him in a leather bomber jacket posed in front of a lighthouse in Bermuda. He used to, in the Naval Reserves, would do what he called the milk run. He'd be delivering groceries to naval bases as part of his role in the Naval Reserves. His early employment included the DC Public Library and Kay Jewelers. He relished his career with the U.S. Census Bureau over 25 years. His secretary, Dorothy Olson, who I spoke to the other day, said he was the nicest man to work for, and he was a wonderful boss. He was especially proud of his role incorporating computers into the counting of the population. In the late 1960s, he brought home a box, an early modem. It was like the size of a suitcase, and you would open the lid, and there was a foam form in there where you would put the handset of the phone, and then you would hear that, remember that modem tone? Then you would hear the tone, and it worked. Things sure have changed, haven't they? Dad also worked 5 years with the Social Security Administration and 1 year with HEW, now known as the Health and Human Services Administration. During and after retiring from his civil service career, Shelley found great success in real estate. He owned and managed houses and condos in the DC area, as well as in Florida and New Mexico. They also bought, he and Ruth moved from Silver Spring, Maryland to Delray Beach, Florida a long time ago. They also had bought a house in Albuquerque, New Mexico to spend the summers in the high and dry Southwest. Having just been in Florida for 5 days this time of year, I can understand why people leave for the summer. Shelley was a Boy Scout troop leader, and he enjoyed taking camping trips with both his family and the Scouts. As a young family, we traveled cross country with this pop-up Starcraft camper, which was named Frodo. And in later years, the family was treated to anniversary cruises in Alaska, Bermuda, the Mississippi River, the waterways of Fort Lauderdale, and Delray Beach. He and Mom traveled extensively together. And in fact, going through photos and papers, I found a list of all of the cruises they had taken, which was extensive. So they loved to travel. He loved music, especially big band jazz and musicals. I have very fond memories of hanging out in the garage on a Sunday afternoon with Dad as we listened to Matinee at 1. Do you remember that one? WGAY radio. He was famous for whistling. And in fact, the folks at Symphony could always tell he was coming because they could hear him whistling. And played a little bit of instruments. He took up the clarinet later in life, and he had several ukuleles. He loved movies and would watch basically anything that was on Turner Classic Movies. And he was a trivia master at Symphony at Delray. mom and dad moved there in 2021, and their refrigerator is full of chocolate bars and M&Ms that they won either from his depth of knowledge of trivia or bingo luck. He loved golfing. He'd go golfing with his brother-in-law Sid Hubis and his son Lee. He liked bowling with his friends when they were here in DC. And he liked boats. There's a plaque in his office that says there are 2 days, the 2 best days in a boat owner's life: the day he buys it and the day he sells it. He was a leader for the Mount Vernon Lodge of the Knights of Pythias and the DC area Brotherhood Lodge of B'nai B'rith. Our family were members of Shara Tefillah synagogue, and that's where all the kids were bar mitzvahed and confirmed. And Dad was very close with our greater family nearby, the Cohen clan. Thank you for coming. The Bubas clan. Thank you for being here. We had so many holiday gatherings, like Hanukkah and Passover and Thanksgiving and birthdays, and we lived, within a few miles of each other. And I think it's very rare that families get to have that amount of togetherness. His great heart gave out after a long and loving life. He gracefully exited hospice care at the Hospice by the Sea in Boca Raton, Florida. During his last hospitalization, which was only a week ago, he said, "I want what Dave had." And he was referring to the hospice care that his late son-in-law had received just 4 months ago. Shelley slipped away peacefully at around 4 a.m. Mitch and I were there, but we were asleep. He just left very quietly. During college, Shelley memorized the last lines of the poem Thanatologist by William Cullen Bryant. Bryant wrote this poem around 1813 when he was the age of 19. The poem gives voice to the despair people feel in contemplating death, then finds peace by viewing death as a harmonious part of nature. Dad's random quoting of this poetry may have influenced my becoming a deaf educator. But here's the poem, the last few stanzas. So live, that when thy summons comes to join the innumerable caravan which moves to that mysterious realm, where each shall take his chamber in the silent halls of death. Thou go not, like the quarry slave at night, scourged to his dungeon, but sustained and soothed by an unfaltering trust. Approach thy grave like one who wraps the drapery of his couch about him and lies down to pleasant dreams. May his memory always be a blessing. Before burial, it's traditional for Jews to be washed and dressed in a ceremony called the tahara. And Dad's body was prepared by a team of volunteers last night, where they wash and dress him before placing him in the casket. And there is a reading from the Songs of Songs section of the Bible. And this is what is read while the body is being washed. How is your lover different from any other, oh beautiful woman? Who is your lover that we must swear to you? My beloved is milk and wine. He towers among 10,000. His head is burnished gold, the mane of his hair black as the raven. His eyes like doves by the rivers of milk and plenty. His cheeks a bed of spices, a treasure of precious scents. His arm a golden scepter with gems of topaz. His loins the ivory of thrones inlaid with sapphire. His thighs like marble pillars on pedestals of gold. Tall as Mount Lebanon, a man like a cedar. His mouth is sweet wine. He is all delight. This is my beloved, and this is my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. The Malei Rachamim prayer is known as the memorial prayer for the departed. This prayer asks God for protection over the souls of the departed and is traditionally recited during the funeral, going up to the grave of the departed, Yisker remembrance days, and Kever Avot, and other occasions which the memory of the dead is recalled. And the translation is, O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of your divine presence. Among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto Sheldon, Rubin, Shmuel, Ben, Levi, who has gone to his eternal home. Author of mercy, let his soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. May you be his inheritance, and may his repose be in peace. You might know this by heart. Please join me in reciting the 23rd Psalm. God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me to lie down in green pastures and leads me beside the still waters and restores my soul. Adonai guides me in straight paths for the sake of God's name. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of Adonai forever. At this point, we'll lower the casket, and in Jewish tradition, we help to bury the dead. That's why we actually have a pile of dirt and shovels over there for everyone to have a chance to. You can do one shovel, you can do 3 shovels, 1, 3, 7, however many you want to do. If you're using a shovel, the tradition is to take it out of the dirt, put the dirt on the casket, and put the shovel back in the pile of dirt so that you're not passing pain from hand to hand. So, or you can just grab a handful of dirt, and we do have a pitcher of water and a basin for rinsing off, as is also in the Jewish tradition. Okay, God's calling you. That's a coupon. Yes. So if you just want to do a hand trowel, you can do that. Me, I want the big shovel. So the family first, and then everyone is welcome to come and help. Don't be shy. Come on up. Once we're done with doing this, we'll recite the mourner's Kaddish. So if you would please join me with the mourner's Kaddish, standing either in body or in spirit. Yit Gadal, Yit Gadash, Nero. Yibra, Ute, Yifa, Ute, Lachayehu, Yomechon, Lachaye, the whole Beit Yisrael. Bagala, Isman, Kadi, the Heish, Rabba, Rach, Reolam, Neomaya, Yitbarak, Yishtabak, Yitramam, Yitnaseh, Yithadar, Yithalel, Yithalal, Shnei, Yitishah, Le'ela, Minkol, Pirchata, Vishirata, Tushtachata, Benechemata, Amiran, Yolma, Yehesh, Me, Rabba, Shemaya, V'chayim, Aleinu, V'chol, Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Shalom. Aleinu, V'chol, Yisrael. God comfort those who mourn. Now I have one more reading to regale you with. Have a seat. We're almost done. The dead are like the stars by day, withdrawn from mortal eye, yet holding unperceived their way through the unclouded sky. By them, through holy hope and love, we feel in hours serene, connected with a world above, immortal and unseen. For death his sacred seal hath set on bright and bygone hours, and those we mourn are with us yet, are more than ever ours. Ours by the pledge of love and faith, by hopes of heaven on high, by trust triumphant over death in immortality. So thank you for coming. Everyone is welcome to join us afterwards, coming to Scott and Laura Cohen's house. We've got a Shiva visiting time. It's not really, we're not doing any prayer service, but there's food. We're Jews. You gotta eat. For the address, talk to Scott. Wave your hand, Scott. That man back there.
Right there.
It's in Herndon, Virginia. And on Saturday, we'll have a second gathering at Leisure World in Silver Spring, where Mom and Dad used to live. Marilyn and Henry Jordan are hosting a gathering at noon in the community room at Vantage Point East. That's 3200 North Leisure World Boulevard in Silver Spring. And if you can make it, the family would love to see you at either or both and hear your stories and remembrances of Dad. So thank you again for coming. Please keep Shelley Rubin in your hearts.
Forever.
Forever.